Alright, so I had a few issues with my mic and I've been fiddling with it for a good like 10 minutes or so. But I think we are good now. So let's get started on this. So here's the article titled China launches secretive suborbital vehicle for reusable space transportation system. So, as you can tell from the title, it's not just a reusable vehicle like SpaceX's reusable rockets, but it's also a whole system to and fro. And this article was published approximately 3 days ago, as of the time of this recording, anyway. So here in this image, we have a suborbital vehicle for a reusable space transportation system launched from the. So forgive me if I butcher the pronunciations, but Juquan Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert. And that's in northwest China. So what we are seeing here is actually not a rocket, judging from what it says here. So it's a suborbital vehicle. So suborbital means it's just under. So so in orbit, which actually this article will get into it. But it's right below the Earth's like right below space. So the point where our atmosphere touches space, I guess. And some planes do actually get up that high, which we'll soon see in this article going further. So they conducted a clandestine first test flight of a reusable suborbital vehicle on Friday as a part of the development of a reusable space transportation system. So it's more than one vehicle; it's a whole system, as I said before. So it was launched from this launch facility on Friday, and it landed at an airport just over 800 kilometers away at Al-Aqsa League in Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. So that's basically center north of China from northwest China, so that's a considerable distance away. And you can, just from reading this sentence, we can you can guess that it's pretty much kind of like a plane, sort of, because it can launch and land at an airport, sort of like a plane. But let's see what does it say here. So I'm gonna go into this link, see if it actually works for us, because it is QQ and no. So it translates for us, but we don't have any images of the actual vehicle. So we can assume it looks kind of like a plane shaped thing, and we'll get into that later on. What that'll be used for exactly. So yeah, and they later so no images, no footage, no further information such as altitude, flight duration, or propulsion systems were provided. So it's very secretive, as one would expect. The CASC, or otherwise known as that, release stated, however, that the vehicle uses integrated aviation and space technologies and indicates a vertical takeoff and horizontal landing profile. So that's interesting because vertical takeoff implies that it takes off like a rocket, and horizontal landing profile indicates that it lands like a plane. So a mix of both, if I'm getting it correct here. But we basically have no information on this vehicle. And this test follows a September 2020 test flight of a reusable experimental spacecraft. So let's see if we can get into that. Into orbit. So I didn't. This was in 20. This is a long time ago. So I was still in school back then. But yeah, I wasn't really into space back then. So I definitely missed that. And there doesn't appear to be any image. So they took it into orbit. I'm not gonna go into that whole article. I generally don't like covering information that's already been out there for quite a while. Just the latest stuff, really. So presumably the spacecraft orbited for days, releasing a small transmitting payload, and later deorbited and landed horizontally. So the spacecraft is widely believed to be a reusable spaceplane concept. There are no images have emerged, so I don't. Yeah, we won't. I won't be able to show you guys what it looks like at all. I really wanted to see what it looked like, and it's not surprising that they're secretive about it because I'm pretty sure something that where it takes off vertically and lands horizontally is a very huge advancement. So they don't want to. Obviously, they want to hide that from competition, and it has other implications as well, like military use as well. I'm sure people who are well versed in that can elaborate on it much better than me. But yeah, so it makes sense that no images have emerged. So kind of like it's like one of those Manhattan-esque project type things. Giant space and defense contractor CASC also developed that vehicle and stated that a new vehicle tested Friday can be used as a first stage of a reusable space transportation system. So, considering it's a transportation system and it's a first stage, so I'm guessing it's kind of like it's like a plane, so it goes, but it goes way up, almost touching space itself, and then a rocket launches from that. So of course that's a huge simplification, but I think it could be along those lines. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by first stage because there's basically no images, no information at all on it. So yeah, that's definitely very interesting. The implication is that the two vehicles will be combined for a fully reusable space transportation system. Yeah, that's what I was basically saying, if I wasn't clear enough. The developments have not come out of the blue. They stated in 2017 that they aim to test a reusable spaceplane in 2020, so a little late maybe, I don't know. So and that goes into the United States space plane. See if we can get an image of that. Right, so that's what that looks like. So this new test also follows days after a flight of Virgin Galactic Space 2 flew passengers to the edge of space for the first time. So what I was saying before, we already have these kinds of things. So that's that with the rocket, and it launches off from the plane. So it could be similar to that. That's what I was saying before. And a project was included in a 2017 space transportation roadmap. The plan also included fully reusable launch vehicles and around 2045 a nuclear powered shuttle. So that'd be very impressive. Back in the day, the US had plans for this, but they got shelved, of course, because obviously not profitable. But with China, that's obviously going to be different because profit is not their motive. So it could actually very well happen. And 2045 is a long way away. And they make a lot of advancements in a year. So that's going to be interesting to see. Chen Hongbo from CAC's CALT, or China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, told Science and Technology Daily in 2017 that the reusable spacecraft would be capable of carrying both crew and payloads. Chen stated that some vehicles would have the characteristics of both aircraft and spacecraft. CALT was noted as the developer of Friday's suborbital reusable demonstration vehicle. So basically, the kind of spaceships you see, like the little ones you see in sci-fi, like Star Wars and all that. Not exactly like that, but of course, bearing a resemblance. So a plane like it's got to be a plane-like shape for aerodynamics, because when you go into the atmosphere, you want to reduce drag, and it needs to be made from a material that can withstand the pressures from space. So you got your radiation, you got the sheer cold and all that. So basically, what spacecraft are made of, so it's a mix of both. So a really sci-fi concept we have there. And he stated the aim was full reusability, moving beyond partial reusability of Falcon 9 like launches. The spaceplane, the development and testing of which is to be completed by 2030, should be capable of being reused more than 20 times. So in 9 years' time, we should have it should be we should be basically seeing the first space plane, actual space plane, not just a rocket that's partially reusable, but an actual space plane that can go to and from space and land like a plane. So we are seeing pretty much what you saw in those sci-fi movies in real life, and that's in 2030. So I'll be 30 years old. I am so looking forward to that. It will be oriented to orbital altitudes of between 300 to 500 kilometers, meet criteria of being fast, reliable, and economical, and meet the needs of military and civilian payloads, and be applicable for space tourism. So I'm going to be one day that I'm going to be on that as well. And then China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, another giant state-owned enterprise, is working on its own space plane named Tengyun. I hope I pronounced that right. Demonstration and verification of the reusable two-stage to orbit Tengyun spacecraft is to be completed by 2025. And it'll be a usual horizontal takeoff, so just a rocket basically. Not a rocket, sorry. It'll be it'll be like your plane kind of, but it's, one that can go into space. That's pretty soon, actually, 2025. So I'm assuming they mean it goes into space as well. So this won't be. This is a. That's. I think this is a bigger advance than the other one, which is vertical takeoff, which is like a rocket. because this just takes off like a plane and then lands like a plane as well, to and from space, presumably. Let's see if we get any, what's it called? Any images? Yeah. So it's a 5-year plan, so it's just a plan. So clearly, the Chinese are quite advanced into this technology. And I dare say that although the Americans are ahead right now in this area, I think the Chinese, with their long-term plans, will pull ahead quite soon, actually. So we won't go into that. Chinese commercial companies and CASC are also developing reusable rockets. A number of private companies are planning hop tests in the coming months. So we know these private companies, they like land space and all that. I think another one called iSpace. Are they testing reusable rockets? I think they are. But let's check if there's any. Yeah. So Nebula M stage in July 2021. So they're all testing reusable launch vehicles. So these are just rockets, not as exciting as a freaking space plane like you see in the mentioned before, but still pretty impressive. Oh, okay. So in the going to the comments, we have some interesting stuff. Yeah, this is what I thought it would look like, something along these lines. So the actual near orbit vehicle that takes the rocket up is going to be massive, I'm guessing. Usually these kinds of designs indicate something around the size of truck or something, a little bit bigger. But this is going to be massive from the looks of it. How they're going to fuel it, that's going to be interesting as well. Emissions, all that. Hopefully not too much, but considering how big this thing is, I'm guessing it's going to be that massive, because a rocket, unless a rocket is that tiny, yeah, I just don't see this being the size of your typical fighter plane or something. It should be as big as NASA rockets as well, I'm thinking. Yeah. So some interesting comments here. The Germans came up with the concept during World War II, but it was they didn't have the industrial capacity to build it. But we know China does. So yeah, they do. We saw their spacewalk stuff lately, so they do make it look NASA's stuff look like a Twitch live stream, and this is because of their 5G in that in those space station. Maybe even 6G, but I heard that it's still under development, so I really doubt that. But 5G is such a huge boost compared to 4G. I don't think NASA uses 5G at all in their in their stuff. So that's why we get the really poor quality video feeds and stuff. And obviously China's video feed was much superior to the NASA one because of 5G. Yeah, that's what I was guessing. This operation is not civilian but pure military. Still exciting. It has civilian potential, as it's stated in this article. Uh, yeah, flyback booster and a space plane. That's what I think they're developing as well. So when that finally comes out, it's going to be a big surprise, I guess. The actual thing we see. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else in the comments. Um, yeah, exactly. So they can steal data, but they can't steal know-how. They're doing that all on their own through determination and perseverance. We need to stay on our toes and not make excuses. But unfortunately, in America nowadays, excuses are everything. So this guy is clearly detached from reality. Uh, Also, all physics and aerodynamics don't change much in step with party ideology, and taking Dominion's comment means that eventually, in terms of tech, regardless of who builds it, the designs will start to converge because that's how aerodynamics works. Physics and aerodynamics and all that works, you know? It's not copying. Yeah. Yeah, I think he got China confused with India there for a second. Wrong country, man. Anyway, so I doubt there's any more interesting comments. So this one's definitely so presumably it isn't as secretive as this article is assuming it is. But I don't know. It makes sense that this kind of major advancement is secretive. But obviously, I'm very excited for to see this in on video or something, like see this thing fly. And I'll see you guys next time.